Imagine holding a photograph that's been tucked away for decades. Its edges frayed, its colors faded, its details lost to time. Maybe it's a picture of your grandparents on their wedding day, or a childhood moment you thought you'd never see clearly again. What if, with just a few clicks, you could not only bring that image back to life, but actually see it move? In this video, I'll show you exactly how to restore old photographs using AI, and then transform them into stunning, lifelike videos. Just like with all my other projects, you could package this into a SaaS product or a service that people can buy, something that reimagines their photos in a fresh, creative way. As always, before we dive into automation, we'll first do it manually to make sure everything works exactly the way we want. Once that's confirmed, then we can automate it. For this example, we'll be using WaveSpeed AI, and we will use Flux Context Max. You can find the link in the description. First, drag in the image you want to work on. Next, add a style prompt. This is the one I personally use to recover and restore old photos. Of course, you can tweak the wording to suit your own creative style. Next, click the Run button and let it work its magic. Let's see what we get. As you can see, this is a pretty old CPR photo. And just look at the amazing job it's done. Okay, you could stop right here. Like I mentioned earlier, this is already a service you could sell to clients. But let's take it one step further. This time, we're not going to download the image. Instead, we're going to turn it into a video. Just scroll down and click the video button. I'm going with WAN 2.2 for this, but you can choose any option you like. Then, just add a simple text prompt and click Run again. And just like magic, our old, washed-out photo is now a full video clip. This could easily be something you offer as a service. Charge clients to transform their photos like this. But hey, on this channel, we automate everything. So now that we know the process, let's head over to N8N and set up an automation. Here's what we're building: an Airtable database with a form that lets you add images directly into the database. We'll then fetch those images, send them to WaveSpeed for conversion, and finally save the results back into Airtable. So to get started, let's create a new database in Airtable. Click the Create button to start setting up a blank database. First, rename your database. Then go ahead and remove the columns you don't need. Delete this one, and this one. Next, rename this to Original. Add one more column, set it to Attachment, and name it Final. I'm also going to move the status column to the end, just a personal preference, and then delete any empty rows. Okay, before we continue, let's rename the table to Photos. Now, let's create a form that we can use to manage this table. Just click on the Forms tab to open the form editor. You can leave all the default values as they are, then click Create Form. This is the form editor in Airtable, where you can adjust and customize the visual layout of your form. For now, let's delete everything except the name and original fields. Then, give the form a name. Normally, you'd spend a bit of time here making it look polished and functional, especially if it's something you plan to share with a client. You can also rename the labels on your form fields and add styling if you'd like. Once you're happy with your form layout, click Publish. You'll then be asked what you want to do with it. You can share it publicly or keep it private. This link is what you give to anyone you want to allow to upload data into this table. Okay, so from here it's all simple. Type in the name of the photo, drag your photo into the upload area, and click Submit. Just repeat this process until all your images are uploaded into the database. Notice these buttons. This is how you switch back to editing your form or return to the actual table. Now, let's take a look at the data. As you can see, I have 2 rows populated, but we want this to happen automatically. So edit the field, set its default value to do, and save it. Now, if you go back and add another entry, you'll see the status field automatically defaults to do. Let's add one more record. Give it a name, drag in a photo, and click Submit. Okay, great. Our new entry is in, and the default status is set to do. And that's basically how you use Airtable Forms. Now that we have data in the database, let's create an automation. Click the plus sign and add a manual trigger node. Then, add an Airtable node right after it. Select Search Records since we want to load all the records with a status of to do. Make sure your credentials are set. If you're unsure how to do this, check my previous video, as I won't be covering it again here. Then, choose the correct database and table. Change the filter to do, because we only want to process images that haven't been done yet. This way, if we stop and restart the workflow, we won't waste tokens by reprocessing the same images over and over. If everything is set up correctly, clicking Execute step should return your records. Yep, there they are, our 3 records from the database. Now, let's add a limit node at the end, so we can test this with just 1 record instead of all of them. And as always, remember to save as often as you can. Okay, next we need to call the API endpoint, and WaveSpeed makes this super easy. On the WaveSpeed site, click the API tab, then copy the entire QRL command. Back in N8N, create an HTTP node, click Import, and paste in the CRL you just copied. As you can see, we need an API key. That's super easy to get on WaveSpeed. Here, we're going to switch things up a bit. I don't want to keep copying and pasting API keys every time, so we'll set up a permanent key instead. To do this, remove the header section from the call. Then, under Authentication, where it currently says None, select Generic Type, and then choose Header Auth. Click Create New Credential. Now, if you check the documentation, you'll see it uses an authorization token pair. Copy that token, then paste it into the field here. Next, we need our API key. Give your new key a name and click Create Key. Quick interruption. I just want to remind you about our school community. We've got a free community where you can hang out, ask questions, and connect with others. And if you're a bit more serious about this and want to turn it into a money-making machine, we've also got a pro community. In the pro group, you'll get access to all the templates I create, one-on-one support if you need help, and even our own server where you can generate images, audio, and video for free. So come join us. And now, back to the video. copy the generated key and paste it next to bearer. Make sure the format is exactly bearer with the space your API key. In the name field, type authorization with no extra spaces. Give the credential a memorable name and save it. I already have one set up, so I won't click Save. I'll just use my existing key. Scroll down to where it says Image and change this to an expression. Then, from the previous node, make sure you grab the full URL and drag it across into this field. Then click Execute Step. Once it runs, you'll see it returns a URL. This isn't the finished image. It's the endpoint we need to call to check the status of our job. To do this, add another HTTP node. In this node, drag over the URL we got from the previous step. When you click Execute, it will return the status. Oops! Forgot to add authentication. But now that we've set up a permanent key, it's simple. Just select your saved key. As you can see, it's marked as completed, but that's only because some time has passed. Normally, if you run these steps back to back, it will still say busy, so we'll need to test for that later. Let's make this a bit more robust. Between the two HTTP nodes, click the plus icon and add a wait node. Leave it set to 5 seconds. This way, we'll send the request, wait 5 seconds, and then check the status. After that, click the plus sign again and add an if node. We'll use this to check the status, and if it's not completed, we'll loop back. Wait another 5 seconds, check again, and keep repeating until it's done. Drag the status field into value 1. Set the type to string, and choose not equal to with the value completed. This way, if the status is not equal to completed, we loop back, wait 5 seconds, and repeat the process until it is. Now, simply connect the false branch of the if node back into the wait node, and save your work. Click the little brush icon to auto-format, expand the workflow to fill the screen, and then run it again. Wow, that was quick. It didn't even need our waiting loop this time. Of course, it won't always be that fast, so it's still a good idea to keep the loop in place for reliability. This one wrapped up in under 5 seconds. Wave speed is awesome. Now that we have the finished URL, let's add it to Airtable. Click the plus icon on the true branch of the if statement and add an Airtable node. Make sure it's set to update record. Then select the correct database and table. Since we're updating a record, we need the original ID so Airtable knows exactly which one to update. You'll find that in the Airtable node we used to load the image. Just expand it and drag the ID into the ID field. Then, remove any fields we're not updating right now. Okay, so when adding an attachment to Airtable, it needs a specific format. It expects an array. It should look like this. Open the if node again, take the output's URL, and drag that into the final field. This way, Airtable will receive it as an array and accept the attachment. There's something important I got wrong. Let's fix it. We're testing for complete, and we actually want to follow the true branch when it matches. To do that, just change the condition to equals to. Now we can run the workflow again. Now that makes more sense. This way, it actually checks the status, realizes it's not done yet, loops back to wait 5 seconds, and then tests again. There we go. You can see it's in the database, the image is there, and the status is set to done. Let's take a look at the image. Oh, that's not what we were expecting. So, what did we forget? Let's set the status back to to-do so we can run it again, and then check our prompt. Okay, So it did exactly what we told it to. It created a toy style. Let's swap that out with a predefined prompt I made. Actually, this is a happy little accident. It shows the model can handle all sorts of styles. That opens up a lot of opportunities if you think outside the box. Okay, let's execute the workflow again, let it run all the way through, and see if it now produces the proper image. Okay, that's more like it. We've got a repaired image now. This is a fantastic result. Let's overlay the original so you can see just how huge the difference is. It's almost unreal. Let's add a new column, set it to Attachment, and name it Video. This is where we'll store our video files. Let's move Status to the end again, then duplicate the status field and rename the copy to Video Status. Let's set the status of this one to To Do. On second thought, let's just focus on this last one. Set it to To Do and leave the others as they are, so only this one will be processed. An easy way to build the video workflow is to simply copy the existing workflow. That's the beauty of using a single provider like WaveSpeed. Since all the API calls are so similar, it makes the process super convenient. Change this to Video Status. For the Video API, do the same as before. Go to the API tab in WaveSpeed and copy the CRL command. Now click the Import button and paste the QRL. Remove the header section and use the authentication we set up in the previous workflow. Execute the previous node, locate the URL for the final image, and drag it into this field. Now go to the prompt field and change it. For this test, I'm going to use a group of people posing for a photo. And lastly, update the Airtable node so it saves the video back to the database. Click the Refresh button, copy the link from Final, and paste it into the Video field, making sure it's set as an expression. Delete the unused fields, then set Video Status to Done. Now execute the workflow. This will take a bit longer than generating the image. Videos always do. But once it's finished, we should see the video appear in our Airtable database. And here's a perfect example of why I love using this loop. It's so robust and reliable. It checks the status, waits 5 seconds, or whatever you set, tries again, and keeps repeating until the service on the other end has finished its task. Then it moves on to the next stage. You'll see me using this approach a lot in the workflows I build. And there it is. The video is in the database. Let's take a quick look at it. Wow, this is even better than I expected. It's just unbelievable. This is a great starting point for a really interesting service or SaaS product. You can combine these workflows into one big workflow or keep them separate. Personally, I like to keep them separate and replace the manual trigger with a webhook that we can call from another interface. If you have a paid Airtable subscription, you can even trigger it directly from there. When you're ready to launch your automation, just remember to remove the limits we set earlier for testing. Otherwise, it'll only run once. And then, your flow's off to the races. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.